and a transatlantic flight goes down in flames off the Canadian coast.
Oh my God, I think we've lost it.
Disasters don't just happen. They are triggered by a chain of critical events. Unravel the clues and count down those final seconds from disaster. Golden's Bridge, New York. September 2nd, 1998. Father of three, Ray Romano is leaving on a business trip to Europe.
He had just made partner in his accounting firm that he worked for his entire life. He was just an all-around good man.
I'll see you next week.
Please call.
Of course.
New York's JFK Airport. 215 passengers board Swiss Air Flight 111 bound for Geneva, Switzerland. Ray Romano is in row 9 near the front of the plane. Captain Urs Zimmermann and First Officer Stefan Loef will fly through the night on the 8-hour journey. None of the passengers or crew know of the danger brewing just above their heads. "52 minutes into the flight, Swiss Air 111 is cruising at 33,000 feet above the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada.
Riechst du was? Ja, Mo, ich schmecke da schon etwas da. Aber auch nicht, wo das ist. Schmeckt dir etwas in der Kabine dahinter?
Ich kann hier drin riecht es etwas komisch, aber draußen, draußen in der Kabine gar nicht, nein.
Nicht, gar nicht?
Nein, gar nicht.
It's just air conditioning, huh?
Yeah.
Das ist eben nicht so gut da. Huh? Schau mal da. Das ist gar nicht so gut.
Captain Zimmermann decides to land and get the plane checked.
Swiss Air 111 Heavy is declaring pan. We have smoke in the cockpit. Request immediate return to a convenient place.
Would you prefer to go into Halifax?
Affirmative for Swiss Air 111 Heavy. We prefer Halifax from our position.
The airport prepares for an emergency landing. The smoke has gone, but the pilots still want the plane checked. They use oxygen masks as a precaution and begin to descend. Moncton Air Traffic Control Center, New Brunswick.
I had a quick look on my radar to see where the aircraft was and estimated that it was about 20 minutes away from the airport.
It's Bill Pickrell's job to guide the plane safely into Halifax.
Swiss Air 111, when you have time, can I have the number of souls on board and the amount of fuel you have left?
Roger, we must dump some fuel. Maybe do that in this area during descent.
My reaction was to turn to my colleague and say, oh no, he has to dump fuel now, and then immediately look to see where it would be safe to do it and at the same time keep him close to the airport.
Pickrell suggests they dump over the airport or detour further and dump over the ocean. The pilots choose the ocean. The captain starts Swiss Air's procedure for dealing with smoke of an unknown origin.
Cabin bus switch selected, confirm?
He cuts unnecessary power to the cabin. Shortly thereafter, the autopilot inexplicably stops working.
Wir haben den Autopiloten verloren. Der Autopilot ist weg.
And the smoke suddenly turns into flames.
Hey Gott, Stefan, wir haben ein Feuer. Ruf einen Notfall aus.
And we are declaring emergency now, Swissair 111.
Copy that. Oh my God.
The aircraft is at least 6 minutes from the airport.
Wir haben die Abflugkontrollanzeige verloren.
We've lost the transponder. Transponder's gone. Come in, Swissair 111.
All communication with the plane is lost.
Swissair 111, come in.
Air traffic controllers can now only follow its path on their radar.
Swissair 111, come in.
For 6 minutes, Bill Pickrell watches the plane's erratic course.
It was a very, very helpless feeling to just sit there and not be able to do anything about it.
With a fire raging in the cockpit, Swissair Flight 111 is completely out of control.
Suddenly they turned to the south, out toward the open ocean. And the aircraft disappeared.
Oh my God, I think we've lost her. I think we've lost it. Swissair 111, come in. Swissair 111. Oh my God.
The last radar position of Swissair Flight 111 is 9 kilometers from the Canadian shore. As word spreads, local fishermen head to sea, intent on rescuing survivors. But the devastating reality is clear at daybreak. All 229 people on board Swissair Flight 111 have perished.
They basically told me, you know, there were no survivors, and I really don't remember much after that. It felt like my whole soul was being sucked out of my body.
The Canadian Transportation Safety Board launches an investigation. The deputy chief is Larry Vance. He has 31 years' experience as a pilot and 14 as an air crash investigator. His starting point is the tape from air traffic control.
We had quite a bit of information, in fact, from the very beginning, because we knew that the aircraft had caught on fire, if you will, and that the pilots were fighting that circumstance. What we were interested in was how the fire started, how the fire spread, and how it eventually disabled the airplane. That's the key for us, was to answer those 3 questions.
But before investigators can establish what caused the fire on Swissair 111, they must recover what's left of the plane. Divers and remotely operated vehicles scour the wreckage 54 meters under the sea. It takes months to retrieve the wreckage and personal effects. Bereaved relatives are invited to come and reclaim their loved ones' possessions.
The carnage was unspeakable. I mean, there were suitcases that looked like a demon could have shredded them. And yet there were certain things that were just in perfect condition that they just, you know, picked up out of the water.
Eventually, 98% of the plane is recovered, but it's in over 2 million pieces. The Transportation Safety Board's senior technical investigator is Don Enns. He heads the investigation's fire group.
The first bits that came up that were identified as fire damage were from the either the cockpit or the first-class galley or the first-class compartment. So we're looking at that area.
The team decides the best way to understand what happened is to reconstruct the front of the plane. Like a 5,000-piece puzzle, the wreckage is painstakingly attached to a full-size wire jig.
As you put more of the stuff together, the picture became more and more clear.
The reconstruction shows that the fire was raging not in the galley, but out of sight above it, in the attic space, which runs the full length of the plane. It houses electronic equipment, wiring, air conditioning components, and insulation. There were no smoke detectors in the attic and no requirements to have them. Now they know where the fire started. They need to work out how it started.
One of the things that we looked for, of course, was whether or not there was any criminal activity involved.
Close inspection of some of the wreckage suggests there was.
Very early on in the investigation, we started finding in what looked like buckshot from a shotgun shell. The little ball bearing things, they were everywhere. In the seats and the seat backs and so on, we're thinking, well, somebody's in the airplane shooting it up, you know, like what's going on here?
Strange damage in Swissair 111's cabin leads investigators to question whether the fire was part of a terrorist plot where someone boarded the plane with a shotgun, until they learned what was in the plane's cargo hold.
It turns out that they were the little tips for ballpoint pens, those little tiny roller things that they put in the end of a ballpoint pen. There were tens of thousands of those things.
The plane hit the sea with such force, it shot the ball bearings through the cargo hold into the cabin and cockpit. With criminality ruled out, Vance and his team must consider other causes of Swissair 111's fire.
We know where the fire started. We knew it was up above the ceiling in the cockpit area. And then you start looking for potential ignition sources up there. And right away, the obvious one that comes to mind is wiring.
The plane housed 250 kilometers of wiring. 3,000 pieces have been collected from the crash site. Air crash investigator Jim Foote knows his team's task is enormous. They must examine every wire to try to find the point of ignition.
Any wire, if you get the wire rubbing against a metal piece, then you can wear through that insulation. And if that wire is powered, then you could have an arcing event as it touches that structure.
An arcing event is an electrical discharge which leaps from an exposed live wire. Like a tiny bolt of lightning, it creates a split-second flash of light and intense heat. This arc melts the wire's copper threads, leaving a telltale copper ball. It's these copper balls the team searches for. They find 20 wire segments that had arced. Most of them ran through the ceiling of the cockpit. But despite extensive testing, investigators can't pinpoint which arcing event ignited the inferno. Analysis of the wiring comes to an end. Jim Foote is resigned to not finding the initiating arc, but as he packs up, he takes one last look at one of the arced wires from the in-flight entertainment system.
I started to unravel these wires. Lo and behold, I found a second arc mark on the same phase as one of the other ones that we already noted.
Larry? Have a look.
I knew these wires well enough, and Jim knew them well enough, that when I looked through that microscope and I saw that tiny little arc, I thought, wow, that's it. We found it. Jim found it.
Planes are subjected to constant vibration as they travel at over 900 kilometers an hour. Investigators believe this vibration caused the wire to chafe through its insulation and arc on a metal bracket.
We finally come to a conclusion in our own minds, almost instantly, to say that had to be it, because we knew from the positioning of those wires that where he had found that little arc was exactly where the fire had started.
The investigators had found the source of the fire on Swissair 111, but there were more questions they wanted to answer. They know a single spark did not bring the airplane down. To prevent future fires, the team needed to find out what had been burning.
We recovered some of that insulation blanket cover material, the metallized mylar, floating on the ocean. There were little pieces of it, and what do you suppose, but it showed burn marks. It showed that it had been on fire.
Metallized mylar was installed in 699 U.S. registered planes. If it had fueled the fire, all of them were also at risk.
We had enough of it that we were recovering that wasn't burned, that we took a wee bit of it and set it on the hangar floor and touched a match to it.
Oh my God, look at that. That's incredible.
And what do you know, it burned like crazy, very flammable. And we thought, man, this airplane is full of that stuff.
Vance is confident that metallized mylar fueled the fire on Swissair 111.
Yes, we think we've come across what might be the problem.
He immediately informs the U.S. Federal Aviation Authority.
It's caught fire.
They had flame-tested metallized mylar more than 10 years earlier and passed it for use. A bit of digging uncovered several cases where metallized mylar had ignited in planes, but with no fatalities. As a result of these previous fires, the plane's manufacturer, McDonnell Douglas, suggested metallized mylar should be stripped from all their aircraft. 4 years before the Swissair crash, the U.S. Federal Aviation Authority had retested metallized mylar and found it was flammable, but they didn't ban it.
The fact is that none of them had caused the loss of life. Had one of these previous accidents resulted in a number of fatalities, if you had a body count, then they may well have reacted differently.
The FAA now had a body count of 229. Again, they tested the metallized mylar, subjecting it to much more realistic in-flight fire conditions. It failed. The FAA gave U.S. airlines 4 years to strip it from their planes.
We know that we got results because we had blood on the water. There were a number of people did, and then people paid attention to it, and then we were able to move forward with our safety message and have it accepted.
While metallized mylar is no longer used in most countries, expensive safety regulations have a history of reactionary implementation. Continued air safety improvements may only be made after another tragic incident.
You cannot make people make change unless they feel a liability.